They want the test results. If they want dates of services, a summary of their diagnosis, whatever, they get it. Okay? This has created quite a furor with respect to raw test data. When people are doing just standard psychological testing or neuropsych testing, the furor in part has come from the test manufacturers and their concern over disclosure of trademarked and also very expensively tested materials. And they went to battle against the Department of Health and Human Services. And unlike the APA, who lost their fight to have raw data kept out of disclosure rules, the large companies won their fight. And they basically were able to get a concession, or at least a rule out of, it's actually a previous rule, out of the Department of Health and Human Services. Test manufacturers argued that this was a trade secret, and it was an exception to disclosure rules under HIPAA. So if I have, for example, an MMPI or a Rorschach that I have given, that while I have to give the raw data, I don't have to give the actual test or the plates or Exner scoring sheets, that those are considered copyrighted material. The corporations won.
This victory is reflected in a response to a letter from Harcourt by the Department of Health and Human Services, where they said,
any requirement for disclosure of protected health information pursuant to the privacy rule is subject to Section 1172E of HIPAA, protection of trade secrets. As such, we confirm that it would not be a violation of the privacy rule for a covered entity to refrain from providing access to an individual's protected health information to the extent that doing so would result in a disclosure of trade secrets. In other words, so guess what you have to do? On the Rorschach, just as an example, okay? What we have to do is we have to extract their responses. So rather than, the Exner scoring sheet when you do the inquiry portion, and it says, looks like a bat, looks like a bug, looks like a monster on a motorcycle. You take that and you list it, but not pointing at the particular pictures. Or the MMPI. You don't give them any of the copyrighted material, but you might say true, false, false, true, 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 false, 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 true, true, true. Very, very interesting information. So you'll notice that this is rather absurd, because people are getting information that's completely devoid of any meaning, whatever, right? As a result, our duty to try to explain what these things mean to people and use our typical reports as a way of doing that is heightened. So we have to try to say, well, you can get the raw data. Let me explain to you what that means. Yes? The security rule went into effect in April of 2005. And essentially, it is a standard that says we're supposed to address security of electronically stored or transmitted information. So if you have to become HIPAA compliant, if you are HIPAA compliant now, or at least as of then, you had to be attentive to making sure that your records were secure, your electronic records were secure, and transmission of information was secure. And it's secure from accidental or unintentional disclosure or disruption of integrity. Okay? So it's not rocket science. It's pretty straightforward. And the risk analysis is a fairly straightforward process. Basically, we're saying, what are the probable risks to this data, or the information that you're storing, the healthcare records, and how do I reasonably protect against those risks?